You guys have been asking for the best comfort for our next tier list. Guess what? Here it is. Let's jump right into it.
So we got a banger right off the start.
We've got the All33, and I have to say, it is not comfortable.
Safe to say this is going straight to F tier?
Do we explain why?
I mean, I think we should. I mean, it's probably the most uncomfortable chair that I may have ever sat in.
It's pretty awkward pretty much everywhere. When you sit in the chair right away, first thing you notice is that the lumbar support hits you in basically the wrong spot. Extremely strong too, and actually like creates this lasting feeling that just doesn't go away even when you get out of the chair. Top that off with the fact that the arms are way too wide and they're rock hard, and it's 100% F tier for almost everyone in my opinion. I stopped using it after 5 days after I promised to sit in it for 14. So I think that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's like, I tested it out for like a few minutes the last time, and that was all. And I literally could feel the pain in my back from testing it out for like a long time. It's definitely F tier.
All right, there it is.
Simple. Another popular one, the autonomous, what do they call this now? The
ErgoChair Pro.
ErgoChair Pro. I mean, for me, this is another chair that I'm not a fan of. Definitely dislike this chair. For me, it has to be somewhere between D and F.
Because we're not talking about price, value, any of that stuff. It's just purely comfort. I would say this chair is probably for me a D tier, and it's just because seat-pad wise, I think it's a little bit firm. The arms are really firm, and just overall the back was okay. I mean, I just think it's just really not even quite average. So
yeah,
comfort wise, I think right away most people's complaints are the seat pad and the arm pads.
Yeah, the backrest is okay, but the lumbar is not great.
Yep.
So D tier.
Robert's thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. D tier is definitely better than the All33, but it's got a lot of problems.
Okay, all right, next up.
Our own chair.
Oh, BTOD Akir. Well,
the Akir.
We know where we go with this. We always go S tier, so that's easy.
Okay, moving on. We've got the Clatina Mellet. No, seriously though, in my opinion, for me, this is a B tier comfort. I think we had it in C tier overall.
Yeah.
But in terms of pure comfort, when we just look at the seat and the backrest, the seat is probably the number one reason why we sell this chair. It's really soft, really cush. Nice back support. The lumbar isn't great. The arms are kind of soft, but not ideal, and that's why it's not an A tier in terms of comfort. But I do think it's a B tier comfort chair for me.
So as long as you fit in it, because it's a little bit bigger chair.
That's true.
The thick padded seat is definitely its biggest selling feature. So if you like a thick padded seat, it's great. Ryan said the arm pads are stiff. I agree. Lumbar support, you can feel it. The backrest is very upright. So if you like that, that could be comfortable. The mesh, I didn't have any like pressure points or awkward spots with it, which can be an issue with some chairs. So yeah, I mean, I think B, but I'd probably put it like, for me personally, probably at the B minus.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like, I think it's above C, but it's probably B minus.
It does have a decent headrest too. One of the few headrests that I actually enjoy using. So if you like a headrest, good chair.
Yeah, I think it's good. I liked how it's nice and wide, definitely on the backrest. I probably would agree that we're going to find a lot of B tier that are nicer than this, but I would put it, borderline C, B. Definitely that padded seat is what kind of keeps it up there.
Ooh, Clatina Mellet. Is that how you say that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't use the pronunciation tool on Google, but that's how it's spelled. I would probably just go straight to C tier in terms of comfort. This is the Leap knockoff. Definitely very knocked off, though. Not like the Leap. Backrest is decent if you remove the lumbar, in my opinion. Otherwise, it kind of just pokes you in the back. The seat is pretty consistent. It's not the greatest foam, but it didn't bottom out when I was using it. And the arms have a little bit of softness to them, but they're still pretty firm, and so that's why I would probably put it in C tier overall.
I'm gonna say I have a tough time putting this in C. And the biggest issue for me, obviously lumbar support, you got to pull it out immediately. That's the first thing I did when I sat in the chair. The seat pad is just okay. It's kind of got a weird shape on the front edge, which I noticed. I don't know if I love it. The arms, they're not even close to the Leap. I know it's trying to mimic the Leap, but they're really hard and they're short. So like in the wrong direction. So they're forward of the backrest. So I always found my arms sort of hanging off the back. And I think that's one of the reasons why the mesh backrest is nice. The seat pad's okay and the arms are firm and don't fit me. So I would personally put this at a D+. But if Robert agrees with you, I'm fine on C.
I think C is good. I mean, it kind of fits me a little funny when I pull the seat depth out all the way, then my butt kind of hits the back of the seat, which then it makes it pretty uncomfortable. So it's like to make it fit me, I'm maybe a little bit too tall for this chair, but
Sounds like you might be on my side.
I don't know.
He
The
said
back,
C.
I do like the backrest though, so that kind of pulls it into C for me.
But did you pull the lumbar out though?
I actually accidentally pulled it out. I was
Okay.
trying to adjust it and it just fell out. And I was very happy it fell out because it's definitely much more comfortable.
And I guess that is kind of a qualifier, right? If you're going to leave the lumbar in, then I've got it here. But I would put it here if you take the lumbar out. So maybe the chair as is maybe should be here because you kind of have to modify it to make it C tier. We got an Ergohuman, all leather, LE9 ERG.
Ooh, I've got a ton of experience in
You
this
do.
chair. Ton of experience in this chair. Like, we're talking 17 years ago. I sat in this chair a lot. I think, for me, I've always liked really pronounced lumbar support that is just like jabbing you in the back. So for that reason, I like it a lot. I like it much more than the ME7, which I think is up next. I think it's a much more comfortable chair. Arms are awkward. They're soft, but they're just weird how they fit, and they pivot in a weird spot too. So I don't know. I think it fits me. I'd probably say C tier for this chair for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's somewhere between B and C, just because I do like the seat. The backrest isn't super forgiving because it's a little bit stiff in my opinion. And I think I like the arms actually, but they're definitely not top tier, but they're comfortable enough in my opinion. I'd say for me, it would probably be like a B minus, C plus, so C certainly.
It's hard because that backrest sits so far back from the lumbar that you really don't hit it unless you get way back in that chair. So I don't know. That's another thing to consider too.
So-
Robert, is it sittable?
It's sittable. This is the first chair I sat in when I started working here, and I actually really liked it, and I stayed in it for a long time. I actually found that locking it forward and then letting that lumbar hit me hard, I thought it felt really good because I like a pretty pronounced lumbar. So this is in that upper C, lower B range for me.
Where are we ending it? We've both said, you've said C, we've said B and
I'm
C.
okay with a C. I'm
Okay.
okay with
C tier.
We're rolling C tier. Ergohuman, all mesh.
I'm going D tier.
Yeah, we'll just put it right here. The seat for me is not usable. I've spent a ton of time in this chair, so it's not like I've only sat in this for 8 hours and gave up on it. The mesh seat literally makes my tailbone go numb. Not in like 4 hours, but if you use it for weeks, it would make my tailbone go numb. And so I couldn't use the chair, and that's why I like the leather seat much better. I do like the back though, so it's kind of disappointing that the seat is the way that it is, but that's why they have the leather one. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the mesh back with the leather seats, the combo, when this chair first came out, it was all mesh or all leather. And so we had a lot of experience sitting in both. We sold a ton of these chairs over the course of the last 17 years. I would say that 100% my tailbone goes numb in the ME7. It did, and it was something that took a long time to eliminate the pain because once it was there, it was always there. And so I would say D tier for me, just because the arms are okay, the mesh backrest is nice. The seat's just unsittable.
yeah, but if you were to combine these two chairs, they would probably be B tier. Because in my opinion,
Yeah,
if you
you're-
have the leather seat
right.
and the mesh back, then that gets you to B tier.
That bumps you
So,
up from that C plus to B minus range.
for sure.
Okay, what do we got next?
Looks like it's another Eurotech chair, the Vera.
Ooh, I am just, my chair was stolen today for this video, so I was back in the Vera chair, and I really like the seat pad on it. I think it's great, and the arms are pretty adjustable. One thing I noticed is that the lumbar support, because I've just been sitting in a Leap and an Amia for so long now, that it's just not really as noticeable, and that's probably the biggest miss for me. I love the mesh backrest. It's super comfortable. Arm pads are a bit firm, but like really, really adjustable, and the seat pad was comfy, so.
Yeah, I mean, I actually love the backrest just because I'm not someone that likes pronounced lumbar, and it has a really nice natural curve, and the mesh really allows you to sink into the back, and so I think for the price, certainly it's one of the most comfortable backrests that I've used, and that's probably why we sell so many of them, because it's just an overall comfortable chair, not a ton going wrong with the seat. Most people are going to find it comfortable. In my opinion, the one drawback with comfort is going to be the arms and the way that they're designed on the sides. In my opinion, it's annoying because they kind of slide off the sides quite a bit, but that would be my only complaint when it comes to comfort.
I think that Robert knows someone that would say this is an S tier chair.
Yeah, I mean, it's my wife loves this chair. I think it's the backrest is just, as you guys have said, it's just awesome. Like, I think it's super comfortable. It's just like you sink into it just the right amount, which is not the case with all the mesh chairs. So Yeah, this is going to be one of those like lower priced chairs that I think rises into that B tier.
That's where I put it initially, so I agree.
Is.
B tier. Next up, the Haworth Fern. So I actually hopped back in this chair recently. My thing with the Fern, though, the two things that I didn't like about it comfort-wise when we first got it was the seat was really firm, and the lumbar was just a little bit too pronounced for me, which is just a personal preference thing. But after having it used for whatever, a year and a half, 2 years, hopping back into it, the seat has really kind of softened up. And so that problem no longer exists in the Fern, in my opinion, in our chair. So for me, it's a pretty comfortable chair. I like the arms, I like the seat. I would probably really love the backrest without the lumbar and without the headrest. And so, I mean, for me, it would be somewhere between, this is a chair I could probably use every day. So for me, it'd be between A and B, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I like the lumbar because I like pronounced lumbar, so that was comfortable. Not a fan of the headrest at all, just because I feel like it's just kind of in the way and doesn't do much.
Mm-hmm.
Seat pad is okay. I after he mentioned that, I got back in the chair for a bit. I don't honestly remember what it felt like when it was new. It was, I always kind of like firm, thin seat pads, so I think it's okay. I don't like the arms. I think they're too firm. They're kind of the cheap version of a Leap arm pads. So yeah, I'd be comfortable with a high B, low A, probably just from what it is.
What do you think, Robert?
I feel like this is a chair that like it's always the one that I want to love, but then when I actually sit in it, it's not quite as good as I expect it to be. So it's like I want to put it at an A, but it's like I feel like I'm forcing myself into loving it, but it's probably really a B.
So B for you, B for you?
Yeah.
All right, well, I got ruled out there. It's high B, though. It's going to be
B
all
plus.
the way to
High
the left
B
here.
is good.
Yeah, it's
High
B
B.
plus for sure.
The highest B you can get.
All right, next up, we've got the Aeron Remastered.
Well, this is a tricky one for me because when just looking at comfort, I love the arm pads. They're probably my favorite arm pads out of any chair. I also really like the backrest support other than the rigid frame not giving you movement. And it has my favorite recline motion out of any chair I've used. The problem is I can't use the seat. The seat is so uncomfortable. It's really firm. I feel the front edge on my legs, and I feel the side bolsters. And so that's, like Robert said, the Fern for him is a chair that he wants to love but can't use. That's the Aeron for me. I use it in meetings and times where I'm sitting in something for an hour because I want to love the chair, but I could never use it for anything more than that because of the seat. I would probably put it C just because it does have some comfortable things, but the seat's not great for me. I could see it going all the way down to D or F just because it's arguably unusable. I have a hard time with this because I do like the comfort aspects of pretty much the whole chair other than the seat design.
This is a really long explanation from Ryan, which is how you know that he really does want to love it and can't. So I would probably say that, I would say it's probably a C or a B for me. Same thing, I just can't use a seat. I'm just so bad in mesh seats that I like the back, the recline is insane, arm pads are comfy. So yeah, I'd go C+, maybe B-. I think Robert's a person who loves it. I know that.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we talk about this a lot. That this is a very polarizing chair. People love it or hate it. I am one that loves it. This is an A for me for sure. So much so that if I went like this, you could get. That's my pants right here. You may not be able to see that. That's how much I've sat in this. That it's my pants have slowly layered on the mechanism. That's how much I love it. But it is, I agree with a lot of what they're saying, where it can be a harder frame. I don't really fit this chair perfectly. I maybe should be in a C based on my height, but yet I still love it for the recline and just, which is why it's so comfortable for me, just to be able to kind of do this.
Splitting the difference.
Yeah.
We're going B. We've got an A from Robert. We've got a C+, maybe B- from Ryan and I. So we'll go B.
B tier. Good spot for it. Next up, the Steelcase Leap. So this is going to be a debate between A and S tier. For me personally, removing the lumbar, it's a straight S tier chair. I love everything about it. The armrests are super, super comfortable, insanely adjustable. The seat I love because it's got a thinner seat pad, but it's still comfortable for me, and it is super flexible. So I can move around and stretch in it. And the backrest is the same way. It's got a decent amount of padding, super flexible, so you can move around in the chair. I just don't love the lumbar, and that's why I remove it from my chair. So removing the lumbar, for me, puts it as S tier. With the lumbar in, it would be A tier.
Yeah, I'd go A tier. I think the thing is, for me, I sat in this for, 2 years straight. Just that was my daily driver. Now I still sit in it, and I do put in quite a few hours at home in the chair every day. And I have actually been rotating it back in here at work, and it's been working. So I just notice over time that it's just a little bit thin in the tailbone region for me, which is why I go between this and the Amia. And so I would say A tier, no problem.
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, I'll give it an A. I mean, I agree with what you guys said. It's just the movement in the chair is so nice. You never feel like rigid, like locked into place. So very different than the previous chair, the Aeron, but yet it's definitely, for me, it's also an A.
All right, moving on. Which one is this? Is this the Hon?
Hon.
The Hon Ignition. What are your initial vibes on this one?
So I don't have a ton of time in this because this is one of the new chairs that we've gotten in here. I think, so I know we're not supposed to talk about cost, but it's inexpensive. The arm pads just, they don't do it for me for sure. The seat pad feels a little bit cheap, but it's okay. I would say it comes to chairs like this, it's probably C tier, feels pretty okay. When I look at the other chairs around there, I think it's more comfortable than the Clatina Mellet. So I'd put it either at like high-end D or low-end C is probably a safe bet for me. I mean, that pretty much wrapped it up there with the seat and the arms. The back is probably the most comfortable part of the chair. But if you're a little bit too tall, watch out because it's got a hard frame that kind of runs around it. So if you're wide or tall, could be an issue.
Yeah, I think it's a C-tier chair. It's a well-rounded chair. Not a ton of upside, but not a ton of downside. I think most people are going to find it pretty comfortable. It's not something that you're going to rave about because it's the most comfortable chair you've ever seen, but I don't think that there's very many people that are going to get this chair and be like, this is so uncomfortable, I need to return it. So a nice middle ground chair, in my opinion. Thoughts?
I agree. I mean,
Just a thumbs up.
Yeah, just a C.
Just sends a thumbs up.
That's all we need. Hyken, the staples. Initially, it for me, it's D or F vibes. Just because if the Aeron is going to be a C tier because of the seat, then this for me would be F tier. For basically, it doesn't have any of the other upside that the Aeron does, and the seat for me is one of the most unusable seats that I've used because it has the old school mesh seat design, the previous Aeron design, where it has a huge crease with the pad in the front, and I just hate that. So for me personally, it's an F tier because I can't use it at all. I could see it being D tier or maybe even C tier for some people that like mesh, but
Ooh, I'd have a hard time putting it in a D tier when we've got an Ergohuman in there at D tier. So
Yeah.
I'd go F with this one all day.
yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, I'd rather sit in our hardwood kitchen chairs than this. This
an
is
F tier.
bad.
Because I think a hardwood kitchen chair is going F tier.
It's truthful though. It's truthful because you don't have to deal with the ridge.
Yeah, because at least then I wouldn't have something like hitting me. It would just be a flat surface.
Next up, Humanscale Freedom Chair. Whew. I have a hard time with this one just because, I mean, it should be comfortable for the price, right? And from the company that it's coming from. But for me, it's just not. The backrest is terrible, mainly because of the recline. The top of the backrest is kind of unusable for me because the lumbar is so pronounced that it kind of puts you in this weird spot. I like the seat. The seat is really comfortable. I will say that. The arm pads are okay, but I hate the fact that you have to adjust the height in unison because I use my arms at different heights, and so that's another reason why it's uncomfortable for me. For me, this is a D tier in terms of comfort, just because the recline is just so terrible.
I've sat in this chair quite a bit, and for me, the headrest just doesn't work. So it worked in like a mid recline, which is awkward. I agree. The arm pads, just in general, the arms feel like little T-Rex arms that just don't quite do enough. And I think they're okay for comfort. The seat was just okay. Overall, I mean, I wish that we have the gel seat, which I wouldn't recommend anyone go with. I'd go with just their standard foam seat pad. Overall, I would say it's not extremely uncomfortable. In an upright position, it's weird as you recline. So with that in mind, I'd be fine putting this in a C tier for me. Higher range C tier. I can see why people say B tier, but I could also see there's a spot for it to go into D tier too. So it's got a wide range, so I just split it and put it right in C tier.
That's fair. What do you think, Robert? I know you've used it a bunch.
Yeah, this is one I've sat in a ton, and I feel like if we were to separate this as purely for like working at your desk in the office, I probably would drop it to C. If I was using it like If I'm watching stuff, if I was gaming or something, then I actually bump this up to like a B for sure, because I actually really like how the headrest kind of holds your head straight. But for regular tasking, it's C at best.
There we go. We're in semi-agreement.
We've
C
almost
tier.
agreed here a little bit. It's a big day.
All right, what do we got? Is this the Titan or Omega?
Titan.
My initial thoughts is D tier. I do feel that this is currently the best racing style gaming chair, but it still suffers from most of the problems that a bucket seat design has, which is that it's just super rigid. You get in the chair and you can literally feel, like Josh said, it hugs you. You feel like the chair is hugging you. You can't move outside the chair. And if you're a little bit too big for it and you're feeling those side bolsters constantly, it's just a really uncomfortable experience. And then the seat is really firm. The one upside and the thing that I like about it is the arms. It has really nice arm pads, and so those are comfortable. But overall, I would probably lean somewhere between D and C.
I mean, the hard thing for this, with this chair, and it's the seat. I
Yep.
mean, that's the hardest thing on the chair, right? Like the seat is just like a rock.
It has
Does it?
two-way
Oh, yeah,
adjustable
you're-
lumbar,
okay, you're right.
but it does still have a completely flat backrest aside from the lower back.
yeah.
And you can definitely feel that up in your shoulders because it doesn't round off like a normal ergonomic chair and put you in a nice curve. So, like I said, it has some upsides compared to most racing gaming chairs because they've moved it more towards an office chair. But for me, it's not. I can't use it for extended hours. So what are your thoughts here? I would probably lean towards D. Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this beats my kitchen chair, so that puts it, I guess, at a D. But compared to some of the other chairs that we've already given Cs, I don't think we can. I wouldn't raise it to a C. But
Yeah.
I think
It's too rigid of a chair. It does everything opposite of what these high-end chairs are kind of promoting. So yeah, I'm fine with D.
Next up, IKEA Markus. Super popular chair, really affordable. I like the seat a lot on the Markus just because there's not much to not like. It's just a nice padded seat, kind of on the firm side, but I don't mind that, kind of like the Leap chair. But the arms are pretty much useless. They just got a tiny layer of padding and they can't adjust out of the way. And I would like the backrest if it didn't have the little lumbar pad in there because it kind of just pokes you in the back. For me, the recline is nice, but for me, I don't know. I'd have a tough time elevating this up to a C tier with those other chairs.
I love this chair in the conference room. That's where I'm putting this chair. This is your conference room special. It's just, I hate the backrest because of that lumbar pad, which is funny because it's supposed to be comfortable and the arms are completely useless. So seat's okay. It's got a super tall back, so if you want to have something that's kind of all-encompassing with your back and your head, it does that. But it's really only something that I think you take advantage of is you recline back in the chair. So maybe going back to what Robert said, where if you want to watch videos or watch TV and you want to recline, maybe that would work. But I'm not overly impressed with it. I'd say D tier for me.
Yeah, D tier. I mean, I think when you're sitting up straight, that lumbar, it almost feels like there's something wrong with the chair to me. Like it's such a hard, almost a straight line that's pushing across your back. It just makes it very uncomfortable.
And it's fixed in position too, so if it
Yep.
doesn't fit you,
Yeah.
that's it. You're done.
Once I lay back, then it's like that lumbar goes away a little bit just because it's like there's not as much pressure there. So like you said, it's like reclining. It's actually improves, but I would have a tough time spending more than a couple hours sitting straight up like this.
Where do you think?
Oh, it's D.
D tier.
D for me.
Very convinced of the D tier. Where are we going to put it? We're going to put it like right
I think it's probably
here.
behind the Mellet. In front
Right
of the
there.
coach.
Knoll Regeneration.
Wow.
The
I gotta say because this is after spending some time in the Sayl again recently and the back not fitting me because it cuts off into my shoulders at 6 feet tall. One thing I noticed right away getting back in the regeneration chair is that I like that backrest a lot. So for me, with a poly type of back, it's really comfortable and it doesn't have those awkward hard edges in those spots that people don't like your shoulders. So I like that a lot. The seat pad is actually pretty decent.
It's nice.
I just can't stand the arms, and just can't stand the arms. So I have no problem putting this chair probably around a B for me. I think that's a pretty fair bet for that chair.
Yeah. The other thing is we accidentally screwed up when we ordered it, and we didn't get the fully adjustable arms. But, I mean, just looking at the pads themselves, the pads don't change when you get to fully adjustable arms. The pads aren't great, and that's kind of why it would be downgraded a little bit. But I'm the same. I love the backrest, and I think the seat is super nice. Probably, it's really similar to the Amia and the Leap seat. Just nice padding, pretty cush for how thin it is. So, yeah, I would have no problem putting it in B, for sure. Probably right behind the Fern.
Robert's taller. I'm curious what you think of that back.
I'd say B for me too. I think the back, I mean, it feels high enough for me. I'm about 6'2", and to me, this is my favorite of all the polyback chairs. It has a nice give. It never feels poking into you or anything. But yeah, if the arms were better, I think this would even have a chance at A tier.
Yeah,
for me.
for sure it would.
Agree.
But B feels like about right.
It's a really solid B, though. Like, that's a chair that I could sit in every day, for sure. And so it's a very nice chair.
Mega Poof, Super Poof, Neutral Posture, BTC. This is the units of all units. It is so thickly padded everywhere.
Oh, did we start?
Yeah, we
I
did.
thought you were just talking. Okay. Yeah, the Super Poof chair. It's the most padded chair of all time. Even the armrests. Your arms sink into the armrests.
Everything is padded.
If it fits you, this is...
It's like a couch in a chair.
Yeah. I mean, if you fit in this thing, I mean, it might be S tier for comfort.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be, seriously.
They call this the Big Daddy Puff.
I just can't use the chair. I wish I could. I'm just not quite tall enough to be able to sit in it. So it's hard for me to say, but like Robert you're tall enough to use it. What do you think?
I mean, the problem is, compared to some of the other chairs that we put in the A or maybe S, is it doesn't have like the movement the same. So, you know, I probably would feel a little more comfortable moving around in a Leap or even in like an Amia. So I think that's where it's like maybe it's not S tier, but yeah, it's got to be A, I would think.
I would say A, just because that seat pad is thick with 2 C's.
The other downside is it doesn't have a super good recline. Just because it's a massive chair, they didn't go with like a knee tilt or a synchro tilt. It's just got a basic center tilt. But if you're just looking for the most cush, poofiest chair, then I could see you thinking this was an S chair. So, yeah, A tier is probably the perfect spot for it.
It's such a beast. I'm 6 feet tall and I don't fit in it.
Right.
So.
Robert just made a disgusted look face when he reclined it. So
Yeah, the recline is really bad.
Degraded down to A just on that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Ooh, Nightingale CXO. This is going to be a little bit of a debate here, I think, folks, because for me, comfort, this is an A-tier chair. I've used this chair for, 13 years. The one downside of it is the armrests are a bit firm, but the seat, in my opinion, comfort-wise, is amazing. Long-term, I did find that it wasn't great on my lower back, which is why I don't use it every day in the office now. But I like the backrest, I like the lumbar. The headrest is good, it's comfortable, nicely padded. But I could see why some people may not agree with my take as an A-tier comfort chair.
Yeah, how's that headrest hitting you over there, Robert?
Yeah, it's too low for sure.
Yeah.
Unless I put it all the way up like this, and then it's like the hard edge of the bottom, so the headrest doesn't fit me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't fit me either. I think in the arms are just like a rock, but the seat is comfortable, back's comfortable, so I think if you want a thick padded seat, it could be great. I would probably put this thing at B tier just because the arms aren't great. I would remove the headrest. If I remove the headrest for me, fit-wise, I'd be fine putting this in a B.
Where are you thinking it should be, Robert?
Yeah, I'm good with the B. I think that's about right. That's without the headrest. At 6'2", I'm kind of hitting the frame at the top, which isn't the greatest, so maybe drops it to C, but I'd be okay with B if you're in that 6 foot range.
If you're short like me.
It's not going to C, so I'll agree to bump it down to B. This is not a C-tier comfort chair.
All right. Next up, we've got the Say Yes to the OM Yes chair.
This is an interesting chair because this is one of the few chairs that has a really cush seat. I like the thickness and the softness of the seat. I don't love the contour, but it's comfortable. And the backrest is pretty consistent, not a ton of lumbar support, and the armrests are just okay. I guess initial vibes, I would say probably somewhere between C and B, just strictly based on comfort because the seat is so cush.
This might get in that B tier. I mean, the arms aren't super comfortable, but yeah, the seat is great, super comfy. And the backrest, yeah, I like more pronounced lumbar support. And mostly it's like my middle upper back is what's hitting the seat, and then it's almost like there's not much down there. So
The backrest is height adjustable.
yeah, I did adjust it, and
Okay.
it's still just not, it's almost like I have to put it down low,
Yeah.
even though I'm taller, because that gives me more support in the back, but then I'm hitting the top of the frame. So probably give it a C.
C. What are you thinking?
I didn't think anybody was going to ask me, so I'm pretty excited. I think that if you can get over the ugliness of the chair because it's not pretty, then, and that's not what this list is.
It's comfort.
But it's comfort. So I think I love the seat pad on this, and I actually like the backrest. I agree it's not super like pronounced, but it was really comfortable. And the thing about the OM seating stuff is that there's a boatload of different arm options, so there are some better ones than what we picked, but yeah, I'd say, for me personally, I'm fine putting it at B because I really like that seat pad. It's going to go towards the end of B, but, you know, B minus. So it's comfortable.
Yeah,
That's where
I
it's
agree with that. You switch it to the nicer padded arms that I know we've tested here before, and that would definitely bump it up.
B tier.
All right.
Zody. For me, this is an A tier comfort
I
chair.
was going to say it. This is the A tier for Ryan.
I mean, the seat's really comfortable in my opinion. It's softer than most seats in that price range. It's not as soft as like the Yes or the CXO. It's still a more firm overall seat, but softer than chairs like the Embody or the Leap or the Gesture. I really like the arm caps. They're soft, they're comfortable, and I do like the backrest quite a bit because you don't sink into it and feel the frame like on the Soji or the Vera, and I like that it has not super pronounced lumbar support. There's really nothing on this chair that I don't like in terms of comfort, and so that's why I would bump it to A tier, just because this is another chair that I could use every day. So
I feel like I'm falling out of the front of this chair for some reason when I sit in it. Like, I feel like everything is forward on the chair, and my arms, I don't know, it's weird.
it's because it has that mode.
Yeah.
It has that mode where if their forward seat tilt mode isn't like normal forward seat tilt. You have to like put it in the mode and then force it to go forward. And so unless you use it in the reclined mode, I can understand that for sure.
So that's the only thing. It like feels like I'm kind of falling out of the chair a bit, but I think the seat's comfortable, arms are comfortable, and the back is comfortable. So this, I would, yeah, I mean, I put it at A. I'd put it at the end of A. I'd put it at a high B, end of A, but I think it's fair to put that chair in an A tier. I think it's more comfortable if you get it set right for you than probably the Fern. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I think once you get it set up right, it's actually very comfortable. It's just, it's kind of complicated. Like it's those two adjustments. It's like, I don't know which one I like better. I agree. It almost feels like when you have that forward tilt, like you're sliding off. Like it's like, I don't really like the forward tilt. But then when you go to the back, it's almost like a little bit too far back.
yeah.
So I probably would put it high B is probably where I would put this.
Okay. Well, we're going to put it in A, so.
I tend to agree with you, Robert, though. I mean, it is weird how it sits you in that chair. I just don't know how to explain it.
So the way that I use the chair is I put it in the forward mode, but then I loosen up the tension so that I can use the chair in full recline, and then I'll just recline a little bit in it. The problem is if you use it in the reclined mode, you can't sit upright. You're limited, and so if you use it forward and then open the tilt and just use it in kind of reclined mode, that's the best way I've found to use it, but I can see why it might be a little annoying for some.
Herman Miller.
Embody. All right, you go first on this one.
Me go first. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. For me, I think this is a very comfortable chair, with the exception being the upper portion of the backrest does this to me. And that is probably the only reason I don't like the chair. I like the arms. I think they're comfortable. I think the seat's comfortable. I like the movement in the backrest. It's got, it's all that. It's like the anti-Aeron from them. So it does everything that the Aeron doesn't do. And for that reason, I like it. I just wish that the backrest wasn't so like forcing your shoulders forward. It just doesn't fit me right. And because of that, I'd probably put it at a high B.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for me, this is an A-tier chair. This is a chair that I kind of rotate between if I want to get a break from the Leap or the CXO. A lot of people complain about the arms. I actually really like the arms. I think the pads are super comfortable. For me, the seat is comfortable. The one thing that I dislike about the backrest is that you have no control over the lumbar, and it can be a little bit kind of pokey, in my opinion. But otherwise, I pretty much love everything about the chair. It has amazing recline, just like the Aeron. So for me, this would be A tier.
Yeah, I agree. It does push my shoulders a little, like Greg said, but I still think it's super comfortable. I love this chair. I know John got excited right away here on the camera. Right away, he's getting in there with the close gimbal shots because this is his favorite. But it's it's hard to beat that recline too. So you just feel like you're just comfy,
Floating.
chilling in the chair because that recline is so nice, and the seats. I love the seat on this chair.
So this is an A-tier
Yeah,
chair.
it's an A tier.
Yeah.
Boom. Next up, we got the Sidiz T50.
Wow, this chair is, if you just see the images of this chair, you're thinking this is probably the best chair for the price without question. It looks amazing. Seat pad looks amazing. You get in the chair and it's not that amazing, unfortunately. A couple things that I really don't like about it: the arm pads are super cheap. I actually took them apart, which I'm notorious for taking things apart, and it has this super thin layer of foam. It's cheap, like super, super cheap, so they're extremely uncomfortable. And the seat pad is just, it's okay. It's decent. And the lumbar, I can't stand the lumbar adjustment on this thing. It like pokes in the back. It's better when it's down and out of the way, or no, up and out of the way. That doesn't make any sense, but that is how it is. When you pull it all the way up, it doesn't feel like it's poking me in the back. Push it down, it's uncomfortable. So if that was removed, maybe okay, but I'd say, boy, as a D tier chair for me, I can't, I go D tier for this one.
No, I agree with the D. This reminds me of the Markus, where it's like there's the lumbar feels like there's just like it's something wrong because it's so sharp in my back. Even I followed your advice, moved it all the way to the top, and it still is like, to me, it just feels like there's something there that's not supposed to be. So this is D at the best.
D at the best. Wow. All right. Well, obviously this is going to go D because these two both think it's D. D at the best means it's somewhere down here. For me, this is a C tier comfort chair. I actually like the seat. The arms feel cheap, but I didn't think that they were super uncomfortable. They're not the best. I mean, they're harder. And I didn't think that the backrest was that bad. The lumbar isn't great, but if you lift it up like he said, you can get it out of the way. So for me, it was just kind of an average chair. But when you bring up specifics like that, I can see why. I mean, if there's certain things that make it unusable and just simply uncomfortable, then I can see why it would be dropping down into a D tier. So that's fair. Herman Miller Mirra 2. If we're just looking at just pure comfort of the chair, and we have the Aeron at a B, then I don't see how we wouldn't have a Mirra at a B, just because for me, I actually think that the Mirra is more comfortable. I don't know. It's a hard thing to compare them just because they are a little bit different with that backrest being so different. The arm pads are comfortable. It's another mesh seat, which I don't love and can't really use, but I do like it a little bit better than the Aeron. The back is firm because it's all plastic, but you do get a little bit more movement and flexibility in it as compared to the Aeron.
And that lumbar, actually, you can feel it. Like when you kind of crank it up, you can really feel it in that polyback, which is nice. Yeah, I think that the mesh, from a mesh seat standpoint, I think it's more comfortable than the Aeron for me, and I don't like mesh seats. I'd put it in a high B. I think the backrest is really comfortable. I don't like the arm shape as much. They're kind of like droopy arms. They almost feel like they're not there all the time where I want them. But yeah, I mean, for a mesh seat, probably one of my favorite mesh seats, and I say that loosely because I don't like mesh seats. So overall, I have no problem putting this as a high B.
Yeah, high B sounds good to me. I like it, but it's not, to me, Aeron is better because I like the backrest on the Aeron. I love these arms, actually. I think they're very unique, kind of ugly, but we're not talking about looks. But if you can get over that, I think they're pretty comfortable.
Steelcase Amia.
Woo, doggy.
You want to start this one out, or you want me to roll?
Yeah, this is fantastic. This chair is an A tier all day for me. I think the only thing maybe it's missing, just for me personally, is I'd like a little bit more aggressive lumbar support, but honestly it works great for what I do with it, and I sit in it every day. So A tier for me.
Yeah, short and sweet. I completely agree. It's basically like the Leap with a little bit cushier seat and slightly less functionality, but the seat is still amazingly comfortable. The arm pads are ridiculous, and the back, I love the backrest because I don't need that extra lumbar like Greg does. For me, it's easily A tier. I could see people arguing this for S tier. Honestly, it's a really comfortable chair.
Yeah, this would be the highest A tier that we've done.
Over the Leap?
Over the Leap for me.
Okay.
I'll take
I can see that though because the seat is cushier than the Leap.
Yeah.
And that's why you use it over the Leap.
Yeah, it's got a little bit thicker seat in the tailbone spot for me. So, yeah, I mean, I love it a lot. I love it so much I sit in it every day.
Easy A tier. Next up, we've got the Gesture, also Steelcase. Slightly different vibes for me on this.
Sitting in one right now.
There you go. For me, the Gesture is a B tier in terms of comfort, just because I don't love the seat, just because I feel like I'm bottoming out in it. The backrest is really nice, but for me, it's a little bit loose in how it's almost like it's too flexible. And so it doesn't always hold me in the best position that I want to be in. So for me, it's a slightly less comfortable version of the Amia or the Leap. And so I would probably lean towards B tier. But this is a chair that I could see easily going up to S. So
if this were a tier list on armrest adjustment and comfort, probably put it in the S tier. But unfortunately, you need a back and a seat to make the list as well. And I tend to agree with Ryan's take on this. I don't sit in it because the seat pad, it's got a cutout in the foam pad where the tailbone goes, and I definitely noticed that it's thinner there. I can't sit on it because of it. The back is okay. I mean, it's more upright than the Leap, in my opinion. Less supportive in the lumbar area, and the height adjustable lumbar doesn't really seem to do too much for me. So yeah, I mean, I'd say it's a high B tier. I know a lot of people like it, but just be ready for mediocre lumbar support and thin in the tailbone.
I think this is a tough one because like if you didn't sit in all the other Steelcase chairs like the Leap, the Amia that we're talking about, I don't know, I could see people saying this is the greatest chair ever, like they find it super comfortable. But when you sit in the other ones, like the guys have been saying, the seat is just more comfortable in the Amia, and the back is more comfortable, I think, in the Leap and the Amia than the Gesture. So to me, it's still an A, but it's like a low A, because I would definitely take those other Steelcase chairs before this.
Did you say you're looking for a chair with a Leap backrest and an Amia seat?
I don't think they make
that. Is that a dream chair?
They don't make that chair.
Stay tuned.
I want to put it right here. Do we see it squeaking up to the far end, A minus? Robert, what do you think, A minus or B plus?
I think it's still an A. It's still really comfortable. It's just not when you compare it to some of those other ones.
All right, what do we got? Haworth,
Soji.
the Soji. Okay. For me, this is one of those chairs where I don't love the backrest just because I can feel the frame sometimes, but I do really like the seat. The arms are pretty good. I don't like how they come to kind of a really thin edge. They've got kind of a weird shape. I guess for me it would be somewhere between B and C for sure. Looking at the C tier chairs, I'd rather sit in the Soji than any of these chairs, and I'd rather sit in the Soji than some of the chairs up in B tier, which means, I would have to put it in B tier just based on the other ones, and I would probably even put it like here.
Yeah. I'd say
somewhere in this region.
Yep, probably ahead of the yes chair even maybe for me.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it's, so from a comfort standpoint, backrest is pretty good. Arm pads, they're okay. Seat, I like the seat a lot. So I sat in this chair for a while because I liked it. And then it disappeared for a video, and I haven't brought it back. So I'd say B.
Yeah, B's good. I think this is, if you were a little wider, then maybe that frame would hit you more. But to me, I fit in it fine, and that backrest feels really comfortable. I like these arms. I always like the ones that kind of have a rounded edge to them. And so B, solid B.
Diffrient.
Smart.
Yep, Diffrient, smart. Humanscale. The Humanscale chairs are tough because most of them have something that I really don't like, except for this one. I really like the backrest. It doesn't have lumbar adjustment or super pronounced lumbar, but I really love the curve, and I love the fact that you sink into it so much, and the little wiggle, flexible nature of it really helps to conform to a bunch of people. I think the seat's comfortable. It reminds me a lot of the Leap seat. I think the armrests could be a little bit better. I mean, they're padded, but they're not as cush as some of these other high-end chairs. The one thing that I really, I guess there is one thing I dislike about it, and that's the recline. But in terms of
your elbows hit the arms.
Yeah, sometimes if you bring your elbows back, you might hit the frame of the armrest.
Yeah.
Which can be annoying. I've used this chair a lot though, and sat in it a lot, and I do like it a lot. So for me, it would be a low A or a high B.
Oh man, I thought we were gonna disagree here.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'd put it at an A.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that I think it's the most comfortable Humanscale
Yeah.
chair in my opinion. So.
Yeah, very comfortable. This is one that sits in our conference room a good amount. And to me, the kind of the deal breaker is what they said with that hit and that it's like your funny bone goes right on the arm there. But if you took that away, I would be very happy to have this as my daily chair. I think it's very comfortable. So, that makes me give it a little hard time to have it at A, but I definitely say high B, low A for sure.
Next up, the Sayl, Herman Miller Sayl. For me, this is just a pretty easy B tier comfort, and that's just because I fit in the chair. It's a pretty specific chair, like Greg said earlier, but the seat is nice, has a nice recline. The armrests have decent padding, not like the higher end Herman Miller chairs, but they're comfortable, and I really, really like the backrest just because it's got kind of that regeneration feel. A little bit more stiff, I'd say, than the regeneration, but I do like it a lot. And so for me, this would be a B tier comfort chair.
I have to go C, just because I can't use it. The back at 6 feet, it's not a chair that I would ever recommend for anyone at that height.
And I'm 5'9", so I don't have that problem.
But the seat was comfortable. The arms are okay. So from an adjustable, like having a widely adjustable Herman Miller chair, it's a nice option. But if you don't fit, if you're above 6 feet or right at 6 feet, I just wouldn't recommend this chair.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I just a little bit too tall. It doesn't quite hit me in the right spot in the back, so probably have to say C, but if I was in that, 5'10" or something, I probably would love it.
All right, so we'll go with a qualifier. If you're over 5'10", this is probably C tier. Probably just I wouldn't get the chair, to be honest. But if you're shorter than that and you're like me, then it would probably be B tier comfort. So we'll put it C because these two consider it C. But just think about how tall you are. That's what it's going to boil down to. Neutral Posture 8000. This is an interesting chair. It's kind of like the Super Poof chair, same manufacturer, but it doesn't have all the poofiness. You have more adjustable arms. The seat is pretty cush compared to most chairs. I guess I shouldn't even say that. It's thick. It's a thick seat, but you don't sink into it a ton. But it is thicker. I do like the backrest, but it kind of hugs you a little bit and goes away from the whole principle of giving you movement. And I don't like the recline. From a pure comfort standpoint, I would have to go lower tier B.
Yeah, I mean, our sales guys love this chair, like to the point where they just always sit in them. 2 of the 3 guys are in them every day. Mm-hmm. I personally think it's a C tier chair. I don't love it. I don't think it fits me the right way, and there's like no movement in the chair, like Ryan said. So, I go C tier. I can't get excited about that.
All right, you're gonna break the tie here, Robert, or are you gonna go way out of the box?
So I didn't quite understand why our sales guys, literally, I barely sat in this ever because they always have them. So that does say a lot that some people really just love the chair. But to me, it's like you do feel a little locked in place. If I'm just sitting still like this, yeah, I could sit like this for a long time, which would make me be like, this is an A. But if I was sitting it and had to move around and stay active, then it like drops to like a C. So give me a B.
B?
Gives him a B.
I like that. I like that spot. I think it's a B tier chair.
Well, I don't know. Now that the sales guys know, I think it's a C. They're not going to talk to me anymore.
The sales guys think it's S tier. This is where they would have it.
There.
And truthfully, they sell a lot of these, and none of them come back. So
Right.
The customers like them too.
Right.
So
I'm the odd man out, which is fine.
B tier.
This chair is the chair that changed chairs. It is, without question, the most comfortable chair ever not made, which is, I like to call it the Lamia. It's the Liger of office seating. It is a combination of a Leap frame plus Amia seat, which solves all of the problems. And it's missing some parts to make it work. You can tell there's some stuff missing on the bottom of the seat. That's a used seat. I wouldn't say it's pretty right now, but it's amazing, and it's S tier for me all day. It's got the best seat pad. It's got the best lumbar. It's got the arm adjustment of the Leap. It's incredible. So it's S tier all day. I apologize, Steelcase, for the calls you're about to get.
Listen, you guys have been demanding an S tier chair from these lists, and so Greg went out and created one for you.
Yeah.
You buy a Leap, buy an Amia, take them apart, put them together, you've got yourself an S tier chair.
That's it. That's all there is. What do you think, Robert?
I mean, I think like I already described this, didn't I? Like not
Yeah.
even on purpose, but I said if you could give me the Amia seat and the Leap back, that's my best chair. And here we go.
You're in it.
The Lamia.
The Lamia.
The Lamia.
The Liger of seating.
But don't add the headrest, because the
Yeah,
headrest
no
is
headrest.
trash. So
Correct.
Unless we could put a gesture headrest on it, but I don't know what we'd call it then.
Wow. We'll have to look for next video. All right, that's it. So hopefully you like this tier list. If there's another one you want to see, let us know. If there's chairs that we missed that you want to know about, drop those down in the comments. Thanks for watching.